Hey, how's it going guys, and welcome back to the channel. Recently, we have been covering the topic of Obi-Wan's power level and skill as a Jedi, especially after the finale of the Kenobi series where he's bested Vader now not once, but twice. Now that we may have seen the most powerful version of Obi-Wan that we've ever had to date in the Kenobi series, we got to see Obi-Wan truly step into his role as a Jedi Master, and best Darth Vader in single combat, a feat that very few can boast. We analyzed in a previous video that we will link below how Obi-Wan knew his Surisu style would fail him in a fight against all of the power of Vader, so he switched up his style to Qui-Gon Jinn's version of Ataru and took Vader by surprise, forcing the Sith Lord on the backpedal. Well, today we wanted to talk about one man that neither Obi-Wan's Ataru nor his mastery of Surisu could conquer, and that individual is Darth Tyrannus, better known as Count Dooku. Obi-Wan and Dooku have fought on screen about 3 times, and all 3 times Dooku almost effortlessly bests him. Every single time, with Obi-Wan actually being the 3rd generation Padawan to Dooku himself. So why is this? Why can't Obi-Wan ever seem to even hold a candle to Dooku's skill like Anakin had been shown able to at the end of Revenge of the Sith? Why is it that Obi-Wan can best a prime Anakin Skywalker and a prime Darth Vader, but not Dooku? Well, today, students of the Force, let's break down each of the duels that Obi-Wan finds himself matched to Dooku and really see what went wrong for the Jedi Master. First though, there is a big sale on the Star Wars merch page thanks to the summertime season, where you can get 30% off. And if you use code WAVE at checkout, you can get an additional 10% off. That's 40% off your order. So if you're interested in any of the Star Wars merch you see here, you can find it in the link in the description below. Now, let us begin. Let's go ahead and get the obvious out of the way. Count Dooku outmatches Obi-Wan by several margins. Dooku himself has been noted as the greatest duelist in the galaxy by the time of the Clone Wars era, and this is not a far-fetched claim at all, as even Sidious was threatened by Dooku's skill at one point in time. While Obi-Wan was the master of Surisu, a perfect defensive form, Dooku had mastered Makashi, the duelist form. Darth Tyrannus' skill could not be challenged by anyone in the Jedi Order, and may even have matched Yoda himself, with some claiming that Dooku was a superior duelist. When Dooku and Yoda had their duel, it more or less came down to a stalemate. Just knowing this alone, it is not hard to see why Obi-Wan had such a difficult time against Dooku. In their duel on Geonosis, Obi-Wan is still a Jedi Knight and is still using his master's form of Ataru, Form 4, not yet having transitioned fully into using Form 3 Surisu. Ataru relies on quick bursts of energy in order to overwhelm opponents with an aggressive series of strikes. Makashi as a form, though, happens to be a fundamental counter to Ataru, not to mention that Dooku himself taught Ataru to Obi-Wan's master. This being the case, Obi-Wan was already at a disadvantage before the duel ever started. What's more important than this though, is the fact that Obi-Wan foolishly used Form 4 Qui-Gon Jinn's Ataru against the man that taught it to him. Not to mention that the man that trained Dooku in lightsaber combat, Yoda, also used Ataru, meaning that he at the time is extremely familiar with the form. Dooku had grown into the greatest duelist of his era, being surrounded by Form 4 practitioners, and it could be said that any Ataru duelist that came against Dooku was basically useless, with the exception of course, Yoda. When Obi-Wan switched to Surisu and dueled Dooku in the Clone Wars though, he was surprised at the improvement from Kenobi, as well as surprised by the progression of Anakin, so much so that they had Dooku on the back pedal for a very brief moment. However, when the duel went onto the balcony, Dooku recognized Obi-Wan's new form and quickly adjusted to fight his 2 opponents. As well as to defeat both Kenobi as Skywalker, he played to both of their weaknesses simultaneously, by focusing his aggression on Anakin and keeping him on the defensive while forcing Obi-Wan to take an offensive stance against Dooku. Anakin's Gem So was weaker when he wasn't on the attack, and Obi-Wan's Surisu was weaker when he wasn't on the defense. Thereby switching their roles in the duel, Dooku had put each of them completely out of their style's comfort zones, which allowed him to escape rather cleanly. Having said that, can we all just acknowledge how skilled of a swordsman Dooku is? I feel like he's a character that's overlooked all the time. Anyway, when it came back to their duel on the Invisible Hand, and Dooku's final duel, Dooku was specifically instructed to take Obi-Wan out of the equation early, so that Palpatine could see Anakin's true power for himself firsthand. Something that's very seldom talked about is during the entire duel, Palpatine had been watching on the whole time, and using the Force to break down Obi-Wan's Force shield, allowing Dooku to toss him away without any resistance whatsoever. Though we've broken down their fighting styles, our question still remains though. Obi-Wan was widely regarded as a very adept and skilled lightsaber duelist, having been the only choice that the Jedi Council considered to go take down General Grievous, a noted Jedi killer. In my opinion, I think there is a deeper reason why Obi-Wan seems to be so weak to Dooku beyond the obvious, and that is, we believe that Dooku is one of the only enemies that Obi-Wan has an emotional attachment to. That is of course because Dooku is the master of Qui-Gon Jinn. Naturally, the still grieving Obi-Wan most likely once sought kinship and solace with Dooku, only to discover that he had left the Jedi Order. When Obi-Wan and Dooku finally meet on Geonosis, he is appalled to learn that the last living memory of his master has turned to the dark side and embraced the Sith and the Separatists. It is no secret that Qui-Gon is a sore spot for Obi-Wan, and Dooku likely sensed this within him. This is why when they first had their duel, Dooku spoke down to Obi-Wan as if they were a Jedi Master testing his own Padawan. Dooku perceives Obi-Wan as essentially his grandson. Master Kenobi, you disappoint me. Yoda holds you in such high esteem. This kind of taunting is actually a dark side technique known as Dun Mak. The style of fighting uses belittling speech and personal insults in order to elicit an emotional reaction out of one's foe, specifically a Jedi. Once a Jedi lost focus because of their emotional state, it left a window for the Sith to use the dark side on them and gain power, or even break down their Force shield. Unfortunately, it worked on Obi-Wan. To hear his master's master tell him that he is disappointed in him and that he doesn't match up to the expectations is a real punch in the gut considering where it came from. To Obi-Wan, it was like hearing the voice of Qui-Gon himself. The truth I am trying to uncover here is that Obi-Wan is simply intimidated, or more so, terrified of Dooku. Dooku is the link between Obi-Wan's two masters. He is the Padawan of Yoda and the master of Qui-Gon Jinn. He loathes the idea that this person has fallen to the dark side, and it's even worse when he's belittling like this. This makes Kenobi lose his composure and his concentration, and leaves him open for a strike. Wherein Obi-Wan is able to hold himself centered against Anakin and Darth Vader as a true Jedi and as a master, he cannot do the same against Dooku. And that is why he is so weak against him. Leave your thoughts on this down below. And as a big question I ask, could a Prime Obi-Wan defeat a Prime Dooku? As always, my friends, may the Force be with you, and I hope that you have a great day.